Hey, we're back.
In blue.
Oh, goodness gracious. Dad jokes
She
kill
loves
me.
my dad jokes.
Yeah, 100%. My favorite thing in the world.
I have a colleague that's really good with dad jokes, so we'll share them as much as we can because we all know that you love dad jokes.
So he is a dad. Okay, so our topic is on the board today. Coloring 101, use what you've got. So, my first question is, how do you know if your coloring book is too hard?
Okay, it seems like a crazy question nobody ever thinks about, but it's important. You got to look at your kid and look at how they're holding things and the movements they're using. Kids start using larger movements of the arm, and then it advances to a stabilization where they start using elbow movements, then even wrist movements, and ultimately finger movements. So you just got to look at how they're manipulating, because that will determine the space in which they can color.
Okay, good answer. What should you do if your coloring book is too hard?
Well, don't throw them all out. There's a first don't. Don't throw your books out if you think they're too hard. We can show you a couple of different little strategies that can help them use coloring books that might actually have too much details. So we would like to go into that and give some examples, and we'll take some, we'll show you right now maybe one specific strategy to do that, to take a more advanced coloring book and make it more simple.
Okay, so my third question is, what are the do's and don'ts of coloring?
Oh, do's and don'ts is an important element of this. I think that don't just throw coloring in front of the kid. Please show them how to color. Do show them how to color. Don't just give it to them and let them think that they're going to learn. It's a big mistake to just assume that your child can figure it out. We learn by modeling, and you'll see it in classrooms. Teachers, you'll know this.
You do it, and then they do it.
Yeah, well, the best way is to model how to do it, and then they'll mimic you. That's what children do, right?
Mm-hmm.
You mimic your parents, right?
Yeah, they mimic their parents.
Do you remember the time when you were like looking at your mom doing something and wanting to do it like her?
Yeah, I mean, you looked up to the adults around you, right? So you always wanted to kind of copy them in a sense. Even, with my older sibling, I would do the same thing with her.
Okay, and I think that happens in the classroom too. If some of the teachers that are, maybe you can make some comments about this, but in the classroom, what you see is some children who don't know what to do. They look at their peer, and then they start copying them for good or for worse. Because sometimes the kid who's next to them might not be doing it better. So it really does behoove us to, and you love that word, behoove.
Behoove is a crazy word. Great
word. It behooves us to help the child see it done right. So on a teacher's suggestion, and I've done this with, when I was doing some interventions in the classroom, have teachers sit next to someone who's struggling, a student that can model what to do, because that helps them, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, I know copying on tests is a bad thing.
Oh yeah, I had some kids
cheating.
Do that to me before.
Let me tell you something. There's no cheating in coloring.
That's true.
So let them see the model. That's the do. That's the most important do. It's too often that we basically throw a kid in the water and act like they can swim. Mm-hmm. And what happens to a child that can't swim?
They sink.
They sink and they panic and they start flailing about, and they don't learn the proper technique of swimming, do they? Mm-hmm. No. So you have to, and the way to get them to do that is you put a life jacket on, and you go in, you hold them, and you let them start moving their legs, and that is no different than in coloring. So the do of that is, model it. The other do is always praise the success or their efforts. That is a big do, because even if they don't perceive that they're doing something correctly, and they very well may not be doing it correctly, but the act of trying to do it is getting them closer to doing it correctly. Mm-hmm. And confidence is key. Confidence is a huge factor. Another do in coloring is let them initially select the colors that they want to use, but don't let them use the whole crayon box. Say, give them chances to pick a few colors, because that gives them a chance to, sustain engagement with one particular color. What I don't is give them the whole crayon box, and what we see is a lot of kids, they rapidly change, and so they just do this movement, fast coloring of this.
The rainbow threw up.
Rainbow throw up on the paper. Yes, it puked a rainbow. It's so true. And I think, and I have a theory that kids who always color in rainbows, they actually are typically displaying some attention deficit behavior. And we'll talk more about that later, because, it's like they want to try everything. They got to pick everything, and they can't pick one thing and stay on that one thing. So I really never allowed children, and the way that I didn't allow them is, look at the pack of crayons I have here. If I give them all that, they don't even know what to choose. So you got to restrict the number of crayons that they can have access to, and then they can only can color with the 3 or 4 crayons that you've given them, and that will allow them to sustain engagement with that one crayon, which will also contribute to sustained movement, which is crazy. It seems right.
It's insane that everything leads to something.
Yeah, I mean, like, you wouldn't even think that by giving them a lot of crayons that you're undermining their ability to develop effective coloring.
Right.
So there's that in the do's and the don'ts. I'll rack my brain for more and share a little bit later if there's other don'ts, but I mean, it seems it's not common sense. She takes things. I'm a fidgety.
Yes.
I'm fidgety.
He fidgets with his hands a lot.
I'll be playing.
This is
That's
how
why
the wheels are turning.
Yeah. I get excited too. I still like this stuff, which is crazy.
Right.
Over time, I really do. I think that it's very, it's exciting to get a kid to succeed. Anybody in your life, I think. And so, again, let's go back to the do about coloring. Do color a lot, because it is a motor skill that they can have a lot of success with, and they don't, like, let me try to explain. If you're trying to throw at a target, that's a hard thing to do, because the target is at distance. To actually make a mark on a paper, when I've worked with the most profound children, almost every one of them could do it, is to make a mark on the paper, and just making that single mark is a success.
Right.
And so that's a huge part of it. So I really think the biggest do is do it a lot. And what do they say about practice?
Makes perfect.
Makes perfect. It made her perfect.
Oh, jeez. This is the father's love over here.
Okay, she's not perfect, but she's pretty close. That's a huge one. I love the do's and don'ts. I think everybody does. You see it on some of these hooks when you're doing social media, is 5 things to do. There might not be 5 things to do. There might be 1,000 things to do. And that's the other thing with repetition and practice. To actually hone a skill, there's mixed research, and they say that 1,000 repetitions is what you need to actually master a skill.
Right.
I don't think that that's actually accurate. I think it depends on the child. That is what I call learning curve, is how many times does it take you to learn something? How many times? And so children who have learning challenges, and please know if your child does have some learning challenges, because it's about the goal setting. When you set a goal,
correct goals, or something
you're frustrating the child, and they're going to shut down. And then when most of the time, that's when behaviors start. Now, the root of those behaviors are, I don't like this, and the issue with not liking it is oftentimes proficiency. So if you hand them a coloring sheet, and the don't is if it's too complex, and they see others doing it better, it's gonna
hinder their confidence.
Yeah.
Right.
Embed frustration, right? And so they look at coloring and immediately have a negative response to it.
Right. Negative association to it.
Yeah, and that's never any good. So. Cool.
Okay, so next we are going to get into some coloring books.
Sure. I'm going to grab a coloring book. She wants me to show what I have. These are ones that I picked out. I have two of these that I was using, and you're going to see something about these two books. This one here is super thick. I hope you can zoom in on that and see that that's super thick. And this one here is thinner because I used this one more. This one was my big coloring book, which was 224 pages, and then this is my first book of unicorns. This was not bad, but I didn't use it as much because it didn't fall in the, and when you say this is my big coloring book and this is my first big coloring book, I wouldn't call this first. And so I don't agree with that. This is definitely not a first coloring book for children.
My 20th coloring book.
Yeah, yeah. And we can actually do this. And probably you'll see, this is even a little bit more, this is my big coloring book. And what you'll see with it is, this one here I didn't use because those details were too small.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
You see, it's even
So,
just like requires one line here.
right. This one here was actually a much bigger area, and that would allow for larger motor movements.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go into my big unicorn book. All right. So these are a little bit more detailed, and you see that there's zigzag lines and little circles. And the kids will inherently want to color those details, but if they don't have the capacity to do so, what I love about this is the thick lines. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is a smaller area. It doesn't look that small, but you have to actually start probably getting into wrist movements or maybe a little bit of elbow movements to be able to stay in there. But when you get to something like that, you can zoom into that. That's just way too small for a first color. Now, look at this one. Okay, we know that there is a lot of details there, right? Mm-hmm. And so the issue here is that what you would probably get with that is a targeting type of coloring, where the kid's going to grab a crayon and they're just going to target it. And I said in my last video, color over, so it will be just this. Mm-hmm. And that's what you'll get. And that's not effective coloring. I mean, and that's not what we're shooting for. I mean, we do want them to get, you know, some accuracy and precision inside of the lines. Right. And what they'll do is color over because it doesn't give them any guidance into how to do that. So, all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do some little close-ups of what you can do to help your child with these types of books, so you don't have to just say, oh, I got to throw them out, because you really don't. And you want to wait until they advance into this level and you get them to color effectively at this level, okay? So she's going to grab a close-up camera over my shoulder, and I'm going to show a couple of different strategies that you can use to help, okay? All right, so what I've done is take this one page from one of my books, and this is, if we're at a stage where the child is using arm movements, then we want to be able to give them a space so that they know, okay, this is okay for me to color. So we create a band around it, and then it allows them to color like this inside of this space, and they know where they need to be. So that's a good way to help them with this level. And you see I'm fisting it. And fisting, we've talked about, is the actual predecessor for a tripod pinch. So I'm good with fisting, especially when you're using shoulder movements and elbow movements for coloring. And that's the first thing you'll see, and I love it. The big fat crayons would be good too. Big fat crayons help with a little bit of the grasp. I do, again, I'm doing twistables, but I think I probably have some big crayons, but I never actually made it a point as a therapist. I never made it as a point as a therapist of, I gotta get lower. Yeah. Okay, I never made it a point as a therapist of using the big fat crayons because we want to eventually advance. So they can fist a regular crayon, okay? So we're gonna do this and we have super success. And what we're trying to do in this is fill it all in, okay? We want them to cover like 80% of the space, okay? That was a win. And what you do, okay, what you do, hi, I don't love it, I want to talk to you. Okay, what you do with this is you put it up somewhere, refrigerator, mail it to the grandparents, okay? So that's one thing you can do. Hi, so I'm back with this one, and this one you'll see that I did most of the work. And that's part of it, is you let the kids see you help them get close to coloring it all in, right? Okay, so why we do this is to say, oh, well, look at that, we're teaching them. This is, if they don't see you do it, it's called a model. If they see you do it, it's a demonstration. So there's a difference between model and demonstration because they have to actually look at the model. So you might have two of these and then you'd ask them to color it exactly the way the model was. But in this one, we've done most of it and they just have to finish a portion of it. And I found this to be the most successful thing you can do. But this takes some time. So part of getting them and your kid having success is investment on your part. However, right here you see here, even if you're using large movements, all they have to do is this. And so this is what we're going to get from this. Oh, hey, honey, where else do you need to color it? Oh, look there. And we can color over the eye in this instance. Don't worry about that. They can do that. And then, oh, is there one more space to have to color red? Yes, right there. That's where we want to color red. Okay, awesome. You did it. Yay. Okay, now, here we go. Let's try this one. And then they have to go within this space. And certainly you can actually make it even smaller space. But even so, you're giving them an area where they say, okay, I see where to hit. And then I go back. So it's kind of what I call color bumpers. And we do have a product out there called Cat Don't Do That. You should check it out. Cat Don't Do That in the living room. And it actually is an erasable coloring book. So check out, look for Cat Don't Do That. But you can do this on your own. It just takes a lot more effort. So here we go. And this isn't going to be doable again. But guess what happens? They're in the lines. And I've had kids who are immediately, they were bad colorers, and they were able to immediately have super success. They got so excited. They'd run around classrooms, show all their friends. It was so awesome, and that's what we want. All right, so these are two ways of getting these more complex or more compound images for kids with lesser motor skills to have great success. Cool? All right, that'd be good for today.
Say bye.
Oh, bye.